Hey there, my name is Cherry from Train.Red, and the 5K asked us to take a look at his muscles performance during his baseline fitness test. I'm sure you are familiar with the quote, "Winter miles are summer smiles." To make sure the 5K is doing his winter miles at the right intensity, he performed the Wahoo 4-dimensional power test. This test determines your 4 key performance metrics: the neuromuscular power during 2 short sprints, your anaerobic capacity during a 1-minute attack, your maximum aerobic power during a 5-minute effort, and presumably the most used training variable in cycling, the functional threshold power, which is determined with a traditional 20-minute block. Before we dive into the analysis of his muscle oxygenation, a bit of an introduction for those who are not familiar with the data from Train.Red. To contract, your muscles need energy. This energy comes from breaking down ATP. The most efficient pathways in creating ATP require oxygen. We measure the amount of oxygen in your muscle tissue. Every single one of your body cells has a constant need for oxygen. To cope with this constant demand for oxygen, an adequate supply is needed through your circulation. You may be familiar with pulse oximetry, which can be measured with a clip on your finger, often seen in hospitals. Healthy individuals typically have 95 to 99% of oxygen in their blood. The sensors of Train.Red do not measure the blood in the arteries and the veins directly, but we actually measure the smaller capillaries embedded in the muscle tissue. Therefore, the typical rest value lies around 60%. When your body is at rest, there is a balance between the supply and demand of oxygen, but during exercise, the need for oxygen becomes bigger. Measuring how much oxygen is consumed by the muscle thus tells us something about the intensity at which your muscle is working. Now, let's have a look at the data from the 5K. This is the smartphone application of Train.Red. This is still our beta version, but all functionality labeled "coming soon" will be there by the end of November 2023 when we officially launch our new app. From our home screen, we can go to the Education Hub, start a measurement, analyze our previous data, or switch the user that is using the smartphone application. In our Data tab, let's open the 4-dimensional, a nice and easy warming up period, 2 sprints with rest in between and rest after, the 5-minute effort followed by a short rest period, the 20-minute block, and to top things off, 1-minute all-out effort. The goal of the warming up is to prepare the body for an optimal performance and prevent injuries. A proper warming up results in an increased blood flow, allowing the muscle to receive more oxygen and dispose of the metabolic waste products more efficiently. As the oxygenation is not peaking after the warm-up, the warm-up was not sufficient to maximize blood flow before the start of the test. Next time, the 5K should ride a bit longer at an easy pace and make sure the recovery in between the warm-up sprints is sufficient. This is something you can play around with during your own training sessions and tweak until you've reached an optimal warm-up. More about the perfect warm-up and how we help professional cyclists at the European Championships time trialing with their warm-up in one of our latest blogs. During the sprints, there are more energy pathways in play, but a fit muscle is typically more efficient with oxygen. The most interesting parameter to look at is thus the speed at which the muscle uses and recovers oxygen. Assessing the speed of desaturation during sprints and the subsequent recovery provides insight into the muscle's efficiency. The maximum aerobic power is determined during the 5-minute block. Here we observe a consistent desaturating trend, almost reaching the minimum desaturation point in your legs. If the trend had not remained stable, the intensity was likely poorly calibrated and the maximum aerobic power value would have been underestimated. Additionally, the SMO2 trace shows a deflection point where desaturation accelerates, possibly due to a change in power or early fatigue. Unfortunately, the data of the 20-minute test needs to be analyzed with caution, as we can clearly see a movement artifact. In this 20-minute block we see a similar trend as the 5-minute block, but with a different slope. The SMO2 trend shows a constant desaturation, indicating metabolic instability. In recent scientific literature, the speed of desaturation is actually correlated with the time to exhaustion in running. It is also worth noting that the FTP test yields a type of data that tends to overestimate the results of a test aimed at verifying the maximum lactate steady state, which in terms of saturation is referred to as the maximum metabolic steady state. A 1-minute all-out effort this far into the test protocol is tough. All we received from the 5K preliminary to this video is the data and the note, "This is a test where I walked away with wobbly legs." During a 1-minute all-out effort, you should reach the minimum saturation. As this is clearly not the case in this test, even after removal of the artifact, The question can be asked whether this is an accurate test protocol to determine the anaerobic capacity, or whether muscle exhaustion prevents the muscle from its full potential. Let's leave the Train.Red app for now and visualize what the data, and more specifically the muscle states, typically look like for somebody of 5K's age, fitness and gender. An overload of information, but this is what our online analysis tool makes from the data. Geeky readers should pause the video right now and get a glimpse of new and upcoming features. For this video we will mainly focus on the 5 different muscle states. Blue, the muscle is recovering. Green, the activity is sustainable. Yellow, the muscle is working. Red, the muscle is working hard. And purple, the muscle is in a load phase. These 5 states can be used in real time to guide you through your training sessions. Make sure your easy rides are truly easy by staying in the green state, or hit the right intensity during your tempo rides. Hopefully this video of the 5K's muscles performance was informative, and if there remain any questions, feel free to reach out to info@train.red.